Hey Scorpios, I hope that y'all are doing well. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. Okay, let's see. Okay, my water signs. Okay, we've got the village, the venom, the riddle, the mentor, the threshold, the animal, and the one. I mean, the village and the mentor, or I mean, the village and venom is just the idea of like you can't get any bigger than the people around you because they only want you to be as successful as they are, but like maybe a step below, right? So they'll, and it's so true because people who are doing more than you, people who are doing better than you, people who have a higher level of understanding, they are not people who are going to be sitting around talking shit and, you know what I mean, like trying to find reasons that they dislike you, you know. And I feel like there's just been this real idea of just being surrounded by people who just they want your attention, but they're not offering anything in return, right? I mean, there's just been this really big idea of energy exchange, and what does that mean? Because we live in a world that literally operates on the idea of money and you know, like what do you bring to the table in terms of finance? um you know, and it's just kind of like this idea of being surrounded by people who are obsessed with you know, like tearing you down and not bringing anything to the table, and quite possibly just treating you like you're less than them because of whatever reason. um and I feel like there's been an idea here of you really having to kind of sit with that and sort through that because, you know, Scorpios, I think you're very insightful. You have a lot of depth, and one of the questions that we always ask ourselves, you know, anytime we encounter anything is like, what's my part in this? Like, how am I participating in this, and how can I, you know, like how can I make sure that I'm not engaging with an individual or an environment or a community that is just they don't want you to be your big brilliant beautiful self, right? And Scorpios, I mean, ambitious, right? Like driven and intelligent and, you know, like conscious, aware. And I feel like that's scary to people who, I just want to say, like people who live in the land of semantics, right? And it's just kind of like, I struggle with that, you know, because there are so many things in this universe that are so much bigger than us. And I love the, you know, in the Bible where it says, you know, like the wisdom of man is the foolishness of God. And it's like, you know, you can have people who want to say to you like this is X, Y, and Z, and it's like, well, okay, there's, you know, there's probably some sound logic behind that, but is that like a universal sound logic? Probably not. You know, I mean, there's probably, maybe it's like a fraction of an idea, but if you take a fraction of an idea and you hold to it as though it is the whole truth, then you are living a lie. And I feel like Scorpio understands that like a fraction of a truth is a lie, um, because it's used in fragments. And when you fragment anything, when you fragment a story, when you fragment, you know, an experience, it becomes this warped, less than version of an experience. It ends up taking more than it gives. And I feel like you've been trying to understand, like, how is it that I can ensure this equal exchange of people who are also driven, people who are also knowledgeable, people who also have an emotional intelligence, so that I can really move towards, you know, a new direction. I mean, threshold is like an entirely new experience. And you know, the animal, I love the animal. It's an idea of loyalty, and I feel like Scorpios are so loyal. Scorpios are so ride or die. And I feel like there's a point of influence, and I don't know if you are the one who is, you know, like mentoring, or if there's somebody else who's coming in and they're offering you, you know, kind of like a direction. But it feels like it's somebody who is very loyal to you, who loves you very dearly, who wants what's best for you, who wants you to succeed, who wants you to be, you know, able to embody the depths of who you are, because that's what you bring to the table, right? And if people don't want you to embody your depth, then they don't really want you to be around you. They don't really think you're valuable because the most valuable part of you is the part of you that they reject. And that's not cool. Shoo shoo, people. People like that. You know, that's a vibe. Scorpios. Okay, what else can I get for y'all? The Tower. Water signs. What is up? I don't know. Okay. The Tower, Santa Muerta, the Hierophant, the Hanged Man. Well, I mean, it feels like there's a massive end that's occurring, but I think through this end, you're gaining some insight and you're seeing things very differently than you had before. And I almost feel like whatever this is that you're, or whoever this is, or whatever community or individual or work environment, or however this plays out for you, because it'll be different for everybody. But I feel like the end of it all has allowed for you to really see things differently. Because the thing is that when you're surrounded by people who are constantly tearing you down, it is so hard to get that voice out of your head. I mean, it can take decades. Sometimes, you know, like how strong was that voice and how long was that voice there, right? And I feel like there's an idea of like the voice is far enough removed through this end that you're able to really see, I want to say, yourself differently. Because isn't that what your last one was, just like that idea of like you don't have any idea how valuable you truly are? And I feel like once you're getting rid of all this negative speak that surrounds you, this criticism that's just like needless criticism, like criticism for the sake of making these people feel better about themselves, that you're able to really come back to life with a better understanding of how it is that these situations came into being, you know, and how it is that, you know, you can really avoid that moving forward, right? And I love that, I mean, death isn't here, but, you know, the end and the beginning, you know, like from the end comes the beginning. I was talking to a friend the other night, and he was working on a tarot deck, and he shared with me that, you know, like the death in his deck is gonna, all the other cards are gonna be, you know, like skeleton. Well, I don't know. So I don't want to like give away his idea or whatever, but it was really interesting, and we were talking about it, like the idea of how you know, like what is death? Death is representative of transformation, and what is transformation if not life reimagined, right? And I feel like that's where you're at, Scorpios. You're like, okay, I've experienced all of these ends. I've had to really see myself differently in all of this so that I can come back better and stronger. And I feel like that's what you're doing. You're reimagining the life that you can have because you're seeing yourself differently. You're seeing your value differently, and you're seeing your value differently because you finally got rid of the voices of all of the people who were just constantly criticizing you. Because again, my water signs were empaths, right? Like we know already. And so it's kind of like, even if they're not saying it to your face, if their energy is coming at you, then you feel that energy, and you feel that negativity, and you feel that criticism, and you're just like, ugh, you know, like, get away from me. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And I think feeling a little bit, you know, like during that process of recovery, feeling a little bit like you're missing out, feeling a little, you know, like nervous about which direction to go, because you know, like you never know. I mean, you know, like we can have an idea, but if you feel comfortable and moving in a direction just because you think, okay, this feels good in my bones, there's still a level of mistrust there, right? Like you're still learning to trust yourself because you've been through the ringer. You know what I mean? And it's not always easy. You know, sometimes when things have been really difficult for a really long time, takes us a minute to settle into safety. You know, because again, there's that idea of like one of the things I think that people don't really always address is that like when you have experienced a large level of mistrust, when somebody has done you wrong, it, even if somebody comes to you and they come to you with a positive, you know, like attitude and a positive energy, and they're really invested in a sincere way, it takes us a second to really trust that, because we just have that energy that's still in us, right? Like I've been doing taking this like meditation class, and it's a lot about like your gut healing and how we store energy in our bodies. And I feel like even when there's like safety around us, like we're still having to like get that energy out of our bodies because it's stored in us. But I think that you're going to have an opportunity to really work with some people, and do something that you're really passionate about. I do think too, Scorpios, though, that there is an idea here that like quite possibly you'll be working with someone who you love. That you'll be partnering with somebody who you are, in a relationship with, or possibly getting into a relationship because you're working on something with this person and you're both very, dedicated to this idea, dedicated and loyal to this goal, and you share in your passions, that passion carries over into, life, which is great. I love that. Okay, Scorpios. Let's see what else we can get for y'all. And for my Scorpios who are married, it could be that you are working on something with your spouse, or it could just be that you're just really working with people who are, focused on the same goal. So then we have the Knave of Swords, the Knave of Cups, and the King of Wands. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like whatever this action is that you're taking, whatever this next move is that you're making, in this community that you're working with, that there is a level of honesty and truth that just feels, I mean, the knaves are very, like it hasn't occurred, or it's like the beginning of it all. But I feel like it'll begin well, and it'll only develop into something bigger, into something stronger. But you're just sorting through that level of like learning to trust yourself again, because it's not always about trusting other people, right? You can look at somebody and say, I know that I can trust you, but I haven't learned to trust myself to fully embody that trust for you. Because I made bad decisions in my past, and I'm still recovering from that, right? And I feel like that's just kind of like where you're at and how you're moving forward into this next adventure, this next project. But you're coming into it with a level of balance. You're coming into it as a renewed version of yourself, and you're with people or a person who are just as committed to love and connection as you are. I love that, Scorpios. Okay, let's do one last card and we'll call it a read. Alithia, I mean, this is like the big T truth, right? And I feel like there was an idea here of you were in this gray area of life that was really serving to tear you down and break you down, and make you question yourself. And now you're standing in your truth. You're standing in the truth of who you are, what you're passionate about, what you stand for as a person, and you're aligning that with yourself, and with others. And I love that. All right, Scorpios, I hope this resonates with y'all. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Please give me a like, share, and subscribe if this resonates, and I will see y'all again soon. Bye.